Amadou Gaye is journalist, author and former Director of Information at ECOWAS. In Accra, Kwesi Anning, Director of Research at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center. In Uppsala, Jesper Bjarnesen is Senior Researcher at the Nordic Africa Institute. Welcome to the program. Adama, what do we know about this National Committee of Rally and Development? Are we talking about disgruntled soldiers, mutineers, or officers who said it's about time for a real change in Guinea?
Look, this is the outcome of a race to power, a race to life even, because the gentleman who was forced to take over from President Alpha Conde was a safe-hand man he has believed would protect him when he brought him through 3 years ago, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, to protect him from other people. So there is a very well-known Guinean who passed away 1 year ago, Mr. Mamadi Gaye, close friend to Alpha Conde, but this is Mamadi Doumbouya. So when he realized that he was going to be sidelined by Alpha Conde, he decided to pass to the next stage and decided to make the coup. So he has done it as a friend, a protector of Alpha Conde, who belongs like him to the Malenke ethnic group. And indeed, this must come as a surprise to Alpha Conde. He would never have expected a military coup to be like his right-hand man against him.
Okay, Kwesi, this seems to be an act of betrayal, as Amadou Gaye has been saying. But it seems that Mamadi Doumbouya, the coup leader, is taking advantage of the growing, simmering discontent in Guinea.
Well, I think I agree with Adama, but it's not just about the growing discontent. It's also a reflection of the disrespect for established rules and procedures relating to command and control, relating to promotion, relating to training, but equally importantly, the failure of security force assistance from those who have supported the Guinean government and the Guinean military over time. I think Alpha Conde and his government also overlooked the demographics, the sense of frustration, the sense of exclusion, the sense of victimhood, and the sense of dispossession. So if you listen to the narrative coming from Mamadou, moving away from the personalization of politics, of creating a new system in which everybody is involved, as Adama has said, he's tapping into the wider public disaffection that the people of Guinea have felt over a long time, particularly with respect to his successful attempt at tweaking the constitution and for him to illegally stay in power. This is terribly unfortunate, it's painful, but it is not wholly surprising that it also took place.
Jesper, a leader's dream most of the time is a dignified exit, but that does not seem to be the case with Alpha Conde. We saw the pictures of him being tied, disheveled, surrounded by officers and taken into custody. Is he to blame for what happened yesterday?
Well, I would certainly argue that he bears responsibility for the unfortunate development we've seen in Guinea over the past 5 years, which is a growing move towards, as you said in the introduction, more authoritarian leadership style. The constitutional amendments last year certainly was a step in that direction. So Alpha Conde has been signaling that he would be clinging on to power, not just by grabbing a third term in office, but also by centralizing power around the presidency. So in that sense, I would definitely say that he bears a large part of the blame, and you can see why the Guinean people would be frustrated with that development.
Adama, what is fascinating about Guinea is that most of the time, a soldier, a dictator, would easily trample the constitution for political gains. But this is an activist, an opposition leader who understands the very complex political landscape in the West Africa. Yet he decided last year to trample on the same constitution just for him to stay in power indefinitely. What happened to Alpha Conde?
Alpha Conde has just become crazy, erratic. He's not the Alpha Conde I've known since the 1990s, early 1990s, when he was a friend of us in Paris and in Africa, when we were campaigning for the democratization of Africa. So last year, I wrote a piece and I said, Alpha, you should leave. You should know that your time is gone. You should allow other people to take over. Don't bring your country to this situation. You should remember what happened to your close friend, Laurent Gbagbo, who was taken into his house, into his bedroom by military forces, and this can happen to you. This is exactly what happened. So Alpha Conde is not the one we knew who were fighting for democracy. Is somebody who turned into autocracy, and literally he was no longer willing to listen to any voice of wisdom. He lost all sense of reality and all sense of wisdom. He was like a young boy insisting that he would maintain himself in power as long as he could remain there. He was willing to kill people. He was surrounded by sacrifice from France, from even Tony Blair, who became his economic advisor, controlling, let's say, the mines in Guinea-Conakry of Simandou that he helped him manage, and the likes of Bernard Kouchner, former French Foreign Affairs Minister, by the way, who helped him in 2010 to win a presidential election that he didn't actually won. Because it was a victory of his main opponent, Cellou Dalein Diallo. But people closed their eyes. They said Alpha Conde was a democratic crusader. Let's give him a chance, despite the conditions under which he acceded to power. But unfortunately, and I tried to talk to him, when I met him at the African Union 4 years ago, when he was elected president of the African Union, that day, he literally wanted to fight with me physically, because he said, oh, Adama, you said that Jammeh is in my country, in Guinea. You will see. So Alpha Conde has become a crazy person, and I'm not
I see your point.
It's a reality.
Kwesi Anning, you don't turn overnight from being a political leader, an opposition leader, into a dictator. Don't you see other elements converging here, like influence of international key players, particularly countries interested in the booming mining sector, who must have advised him to stay in power to consolidate their own financial gains there?
Well, I think that is only part of it. But the primary challenge is what Adama has said, that we didn't know him anymore. This, and it's not only Alpha Conde, several present African leaders are chameleons who appropriate the narrative and the discourse and the language of the rule of law, respect for human rights, of democratic transitions, of free media and free elections, only to hype and con people to get power. When they do that, and I think Alpha Conde has demonstrated this, and several African leaders have demonstrated so, they then get external forces or leaders to back them, to provide the necessary tools of oppression so that dissent is destroyed, people are murdered, and then undermine state institutions. So, for example, in Guinea, and I think Adama has mentioned some names, these are people who would not be able to perform and behave in a similar manner in their countries, okay? But they extend economic aid, investments, security force assistance in terms of training, equipment, sending them to military schools outside, and then using these collective tools to oppress their own people. Let me make this point and make it very clear. Because of Chad, Mali, and now Guinea, a signal has been sent both to the armies of the Sahelian countries and West Africa, and particularly to the oppressed people, that they can take power back. Unfortunately, the military's interventions are not the most useful most of the time, and it's most unfortunate.
All right. Yes, but what kind of